Hey everybody, welcome back to the Point. Hope you guys are all doing well on this rainy Thursday. Today we got a big show coming on your way. Matt Wright was supposed to join the show yesterday. He got caught up with things, so we were pushing back a day, but he's going to be live with us this afternoon. So Matt Wright will be stopping in as he and I preview the AFC and NFC championship games, go over the betting lines for those games. Also, want to get his thoughts on Bill O'Brien being named the new offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, the Aaron Rodgers saga, and what's going on there with Green Bay, Tom Brady, his guy Danny Dimes, some other hires. No head coaching hires yet, which is a bit weird for me. Get into that with Matt Wright as well. I also want to talk to him. He's a big Rangers fan. His Rangers lost to the Leafs last night in dramatic fashion. So just want to get his thoughts on a number of different things around the sports world. Got some questions for him too, but just from a coaching perspective, as he's head coach at Champions Hockey, does a great job there building that program. So always great to have Ryder on the show. He will be by shortly in about 45 to 50 minutes. Hopefully that's the timeline there. But to start off, before he joins, there's just certain players that you watch and you want to like them. You want to be with everybody else when they have an opinion about somebody. Sometimes you see it and you're like, well, yeah, I wish I agree with everybody else. Or, for instance, for me, I'm a picky eater. I'm a lot better than I used to be, but I'm still a picky eater. I hate chicken wings. I hate fish. I won't eat just kind of crap like that. I eat well done steak. I have weird food tastes. It's strange. I wish I was like everybody else, but I'm not. I wish I loved Artemi Panarin as much as the media and most people in fantasy hockey do, but I don't. And when you eliminate the numbers, when you eliminate, thinking of points and statistics and things of that nature, you realize that Artemi Panarin is nothing more than a stat patter. And ultimately, I refer to him as a team killer and Mr. Perimeter. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, last night there was a game at the Scotiabank Arena between the New York Rangers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was a pretty interesting game. Both goaltenders played extremely well for the respective teams, both Russian goaltenders, Igor Shesterkin and Ilya Samsonov for the Toronto Maple Leafs. A back-and-forth affair, and ultimately, the Toronto Maple Leafs prevail in overtime, a rare overtime victory for the Maple Leafs. Should happen all the time, but it was rare. The game had interesting moments. I have some thoughts I'll get to on the New York Rangers and just what I think of them as a team. Really disappointed in them, quite frankly. But you're in overtime. It's 3-on-3. And on 3-on-3, if you don't know your defensive assignment, then you really don't know hockey and you don't know team. You don't know how to play in a system. You will never understand systems. If you don't know what is your defensive responsibility on a 3-on-3, because guess what? There's only 3 opponents. And guess what? Who you line up next to, that's your assignment. You keep that person. You have him for the entire time. So what happens on this goal? Mitch Marner's got the puck at the blue line. He's weaving through people, and Artemi Panarin has him. Because Artemi Panarin's a winger, and so is Mitch Marner, both right wingers. And Artemi Panarin just waves his stick out, a fake attempt, a fake attempt to care about defensive responsibilities, a fake attempt to care about his team in that moment. And he scurries by him. Keandre Miller's protecting his man, tries to come over and play some help defense, NBA style. Not there in time. Mitch Marner pokes it in on the backhand, and before you know it, the game's over. 19 seconds in overtime. Now, the Leafs beating the New York Rangers is not a big headline. The Toronto Maple Leafs are a better team than the New York Rangers. But to me, you see certain things, and it just will never leave your mind. I watched that playoffs last year, and the Rangers won 2 rounds, and that's all well and good, but guess what? You need to win 4. And the New York Rangers have one goal, and that's to win a Stanley Cup. It's not to win 2 rounds, it's not to get to 7 games in the conference final, it's to get better. They've gotten worse this season. They've scratched Alexei Lafreniere. They had to trade Ryan Reeves. There was rumors they're going to fire their head coach. It's been complete turmoil and a really average to pedestrian season for the Rangers. And you expected them to. Chris Kreider, who had 18 power play goals last year, is having a down year. That's bound to happen. You have Mika Zibanejad, who I still think is the number one center and is the best player on the team, isn't as dominant as he was the year before. Adam Fox pushes back a little bit. It's going to happen. And Igor Shesterkin isn't stopping 93% of the shots he faces. That was never going to happen either. So regression was in order. But when your quote-unquote best player is Artemi Panarin, who could give 2 ounces of fuck about defending, could give 2 ounces of care about wanting to win, about giving an effort to win, other than making a cross-court pass, other than seeing somebody far side to shoot it, to make a pass in the offensive zone, anything other than scoring opportunities, this guy is not going to work. This guy's not going to care, and he's a selfish team killer. He is not going to be on a winning team. He is not part of a winning culture because he's asked to do too much and he delivers so little. You don't have to be a 200-foot player because Mitch Marner isn't a 200-foot player, but he's a hell of a lot better of a defensive player than Artemi Panarin. They're compared. They're not comparable. Mitch Marner is 10 times the player Artemi Panarin is. David Pasternak's the better winger. I'll take Bill Nylander over Panarin. I'll take half the fucking league over Artemi Panarin because of that play alone. It's selfish, it's arrogant, and it comes from a sense of entitlement. A sense of, I'm better than this. I don't need to do this. I'm not going to stoop down to Barclay Goodrow's territory enough to defend. Oh, God forbid. The New York Rangers haven't won since 1994. But what I will say about the Rangers through that time, they've had people that cared. Their best players cared. Chris Kreider cared. Brad Richards would block a shot. They go into the corner. Ryan McDonough was a great captain. You know why? Because he did everything he possibly could to win. Ultimately, it didn't work out in New York. He won in Tampa. Why? Because he's got the intangibles. He's got the heart. He's got the fight of a lion. The Rangers have a few of these guys. But when your best forward, air quotes, when your best player, which you ask 90% of journalists, you ask 90% of people that cover the game, they'll tell you the New York Rangers' best players are Artemi Panarin, you're not going anywhere. You're going nowhere fast. You're in fucking quicksand. I remember when they signed him. And it was such a home run. It was going to work. It's got such a great proposition. No. This is the clear example of when somebody tells me, well, he's great in fantasy. I hate the player. I hate the player. I don't want a good fantasy. I could give a shit about what a guy does in fantasy. Great. Just because you score points doesn't mean you're going to be a great player. There's so many players that have scored a shit ton of points. To get to the playoffs, they're fucking pedestrian. They go away. They're nothing. You know why? Because they don't got any fucking heart. Artemi Panarin isn't going to go in the corner and have to take a hit. Why? Because he's afraid to. That would take some heart. That would take some ability, the wherewithal to get in that corner. He won't do that. Artemi Panarin's a problem for the Rangers, not a solution. That contract's huge. And it's so funny because he's in New York, a big media market. There's a lot of other things. The Jets get more coverage. The Giants get more coverage. The Yankees get more coverage as Aaron Judge is named the captain of the Yankees. Who cares? And yet the New York Rangers sit here with a better chance of winning a championship than those three franchises combined, and you don't hear a peep. You don't hear a peep about Artemi Panarin. You don't hear a peep about what this team has done all year. You don't hear anything about the fact that their special teams are morally abhorrent. I haven't seen a Ranger game in a while, clearly, because that power play and penalty kill combination last night was so offensive. That's my word. It's offensive to watch. Matthews had 2 slot shots last night, 5 feet away from the net. They were both on the power play. You know why? He was alone. No defense. They had 2 defense go in the corner on the penalty kill. This is basic stuff. They teach this in Adam. No two defensemen are going in the same corner. They did it last night. 2 defensemen. At the same time. 2 slot shots. Thank God for Shesterkin in the crossbar. I wrote in my notes, puke. That's what I thought when I saw that last night. Just their penalty kill structure. And this is where you get to the Rangers and why I don't think they're going to win anything. I predicted them to win the Cup, and I thought they'd find something. But I have to look in the mirror and think, Noah, why would you think that? When Gerard Gallant, who is a better motivator than he is. He's a great coach in the sense that he can motivate anybody. Very nice guy. His players like him a lot. But when it comes to X's and O's, when it comes to systems, when it comes to accountability and playing the right way, it's not there. You don't hear anything about the power play, about the penalty kill, structure. This team doesn't play with any structure. They don't play with any wherewithal for the position in the game and the way that they approach it. That's why his teams never win. Think about his first year in Vegas. It went great. Then it didn't. Then they lost in the first round. Then he got fired midway through the next season. Why? Because the team played with no structure, no systems, no plan. Their power play. There's no traffic in front of the net. They're not looking to Mika Zibanejad for the one-timer. This is the time where Artemi Panarin would shine. He doesn't even look for the puck. He didn't have a pulse last night. But there's no they're 17th in the NHL on the power play. That is so. They should be in the top 10. They should be in the top 10. Like, Ottawa's got some really skilled players, but there's no way Ottawa should have a better power play than the Rangers. I'm sorry. They shouldn't. With Fox and Panarin and Kreider and Zibanejad, Trocheck, Keandre Miller, you got 2 units that can really make things happen. And no plan, no sense of urgency, no hope. Now, with all that being said, the Rangers are going to make the playoffs in all likelihood. Whether they deserve it or not, it's a whole other story. They got the second best goaltender in the world. They got a great player in Zibanejad. Chris Kreider's still a very good player, and he's the heart and soul of the team. Panarin will still put up points, much to my chagrin. Adam Fox, still a very good player. And then you got Keandre Miller, who I always thought would be in a trade for a big piece. Whether it be Patrick Kane, whether it be Timo Meier, I thought he would be sent back. Well, there's no way in hell I'm trading Keandre Miller now. The kid has absolutely found his game. He gets better year after year. And I love the way he's playing this season. He played great last night, in my opinion. He's a physical guy. He will jump into the play offensively. He reads the plays extremely well. Keandre Miller's a stud. The Rangers are going to have a stud defenseman for a long time, and by the end of it, he might be a better defenseman than Adam Fox. Because Adam Fox is very skilled, but he's limited. When it comes to playing the defense position, he's limited at that skill. Keandre Miller's got the size, he's got the edge, he's got the bite, and he does have offensive prowess when he wants to use it. That combination is lethal. The combination can be so important to a team in their success. But I'll tell you, the Rangers didn't spark a whole lot of confidence in me last night. I don't love their team. Their best line last night was the kid line. They should play together every night. Kakko, Lafreniere, and Filipino was the team's best line last night. And to me, Kakko he's never going to be a top 6 player, in my opinion. But I like him. I like his game. I think he plays fundamentally well. He doesn't give up on pucks. He's got a high motor, a great work ethic. That's something that will translate, that you can turn into a game for 10 to 15-year career. Doesn't mean you'll be a superstar, but maybe you're Chris Draper. Maybe you're a guy that's got a little bite when you need to. You'll finish your checks. You won't give up on the play. I view Kaapo Kakko as a Chris Draper, a Sean Horkoff, a Gary Roberts with less skill. Just a tenacious forward that will not give up in his own zone, will not give up on pucks, will continue to fight, to frisk, and he can still make plays when he gets the puck. But you have him with Hedl and his finish, and Lafreniere, to me, is the weakest link of the line. But when he wants to be physical, when he wants to get involved and get in the action, he can. So that line needs to stay together. But the Rangers still need a piece up front, and they could really use another defenseman too. And as I've talked about here, it's going to be tough to do at the trade deadline. I don't know how many moves are going to be out there. I don't know how many things are going to happen. Who's going to get moved? Is there going to be enough cap space? This, that, and the other? I don't know. I think San Jose is looking in the mirror and they see Timo Meier staring back at them. And there's no way that you'd want to trade a Timo Meier, because Timo Meier is an excellent player. He's got 28 goals and he plays out west. He's not talked about, but he's a stud. And any team would love a Timo Meier, and the second the Sharks lose him, they'll be looking to replace him. But I also think a team like the Sharks look in the mirror and say, holy crap, we got Karlsson's contract that we probably won't be able to move. We have Marc-Edouard Vlasic's contract that I know we won't be able to move. Logan Couture, I don't know if we can move that. Some other bad deals. And before you know it, you're like, well, to get some assets, to get some money off the books, not have to dish out another $10 million contract, let's trade Timo Meier. I think New York Rangers would be a fit. Now, do you have the prospects? Do you have the picks to make it happen? That remains to be seen. You have Braden Schneider, who's playing NHL games right now. You have Vitaly Kravtsov. A team might be looking to take a chance on him. To me, he's been a bust so far in his NHL career, but maybe he shines with another team. Who knows? Gets more opportunities in San Jose than he would in New York. But Timo Meier, to me, will be dealt. It's just where. I think we might see a metropolitan bidding war. Carolina, they might trade for him. They won't sign him because it'll be too much money. But they could use him. The New York Rangers, even the New Jersey Devils. I could see them being aggressive. They're in a position where they should be competing for the Stanley Cup. Yes, they're small, but if they can get bigger, Timo Meier does have some bite to him. He's a bigger winger. He's not afraid to mix it up. That could be a valuable asset to the team. And they could re-sign him, quite frankly. But the Rangers, it's going to be very hard for them to win anything this season with the way they play. With the structure of their game, the nonchalance, the no authority to it, no changes ever being made, their shitty special teams. Maybe they can overcome it. They got to a conference final last year, but they didn't win that series. They were up 3-2. The goaltender is the X factor. Absolutely. But leaving last night, it's pretty clear to me that the Toronto Maple Leafs are a better hockey team than the New York Rangers. And the score reflected that. Now, for the Toronto Maple Leafs, what was impressive to me last night is that they won the game, and I thought their top line was pretty careless. I thought Matthews and Marner weren't very secure with the puck. They were a little loosey-goosey last night. Didn't exactly play great until the overtime, quite frankly. 5-on-5, the real hockey, I thought they were pedestrian. I don't think they created a lot of high-volume scoring chances. They kind of floated the whole game. And that's why I don't really like these two together, because I think they both can bring out the worst in each other or the best of each other. But in this case, last night, I thought it was the worst in one another, where it just really wasn't a high-intense effort from either one of them. But Marner ends up scoring the overtime winner. But for me, it was a night where two guys stood out. And the first one is Timothy Liljegren. I've been pumping his tires for some time now, the Toronto Maple Leafs defenseman. I like him a lot. To me, if you're going to make a move for a defenseman at the trade deadline, there is not a chance in hell he's coming out of the lineup. No chance. He is, with TJ Brody idle right now because of his injury, Timothy Liljegren is the most consistent Maple Leaf defenseman. More than Morgan Rielly, because Morgan Rielly is erratic AF, if you will, with the puck. He doesn't always make the right decision. He makes careless mistakes. And in his own zone, it's a whole other story. Liljegren makes a great first pass. He protects the puck very well, and he knows when to jump into the play. Last night, Liljegren gets the tying goal, and he gets an assist on the game winner. That's not lost on me. He doesn't have the offensive upside of Rasmus Sandin, but he's a better defenseman than Rasmus Sandin. Sandin's got the flair. He'll keep the puck. He should be on the top power play unit if you're going to play him. I still don't get why he's not on it. But he's smaller. I find he can hold on to the puck a little too long. He tries to make a fancier play than sometimes to just get the puck out of your zone, aka Liljegren, make the better play. Both guys have played well this season, but Liljegren to me is above Sandin in the power rankings of importance. When it comes to defensemen, if I had to sit somebody, Sandin's in the press box. Liljegren's playing. And he can play a top four role. I believe. He's really, really confident. You see it. And kudos to him and to the Leafs management, because he was playing for the Marlies for a long time, and you never thought this guy was going to get to the NHL. And it was forever and ever and ever, and now he's here. So I think this just serves as a reminder to everybody, including myself, that development is different for everybody. Just because you want a player to be ready or you want a player to be inserted into the lineup doesn't mean it's the right time for the player. Doesn't mean it's going to be the optimal time. Bobby McMahon is 26. He's getting his first crack at the NHL with the Leafs right now. I like him, personally. I think he's a good bottom six forward. I continue to play him. Certainly over Dryden Hunt and or Zach Aston Reese. You go through it. Everybody has it. Kurt Warner didn't start playing till his mid-20s. Steve Young didn't get his first NFL start till he was 27 years old. Development is different for everybody. Some people go to college for 4 years, then they come out and they go somewhere. You get certain opportunities. You're in the minors, you're in the East Coast League, and eventually you find your way to the NHL. It's just different for everybody. And credit to Liljegren, who battled through the Marlies, who played a lot of hockey down there, and eventually found success. Eventually was able to find it and turn it into a great role on this team, and a guy that's going to be asked to play top 4 minutes, I believe, come playoff time, which is a lot of responsibility and a big opportunity and a big question mark, quite frankly. A big spotlight on him. The lily pad is a must-have for me. It's non-negotiable that he is playing for the Leafs. The second one for me, again, Ilya Samsonov is locked in right now. He doesn't lose on home ice for the Maple Leafs. But something I've noticed just the past 2 games, he's starting to play the puck. And it's directly led to 2 goals. He made the pass up the ice to Nylander the other night. Nylander tipped it, and it created a scoring chance. It ultimately led to the Tavares goal. Last night, he starts it, gets an exit zone, and it led to the first goal of the game by Pontus Holmberg for the Maple Leafs. That pass to the man on the boards, then you go up the ice, one more pass. He doesn't get an assist on the goal, but he started the play. This is where the plus-minus people, this is the play that matters. Did you have an effect on the play? The fifth guy in that play that was in the corner that got a plus but didn't do anything relating to the play, that's where the stat is completely irrelevant because he didn't do anything. He didn't do jack shit to earn that plus. He was in the right place at the right time. Samsonov, to get a plus on that play, it's absolutely earned because the defenseman didn't have to go all the way to the corner. He stopped along the hash boards, had a stick on the ice. Samsonov, tape to tape. Tape to tape, up the boards again, middle of the ice, backhander in the back of the net before people could sit their asses on the seats with their bucket of popcorn. If he can move the puck, if he can have an effect that way where he makes life easier on his defenseman, where he can lead to scoring opportunities, that will also give him an edge over Matt Murray because I don't think Matt Murray's great at playing the puck. So you have a guy that plays extremely well. He can move the puck a bit. You'll take that every day of the week. Every day of the week, you will take that from Ilya Samsonov. This goalie competition is far from over, but he's having a great run here. He's having a really good run. I expect Matt Murray to start tomorrow just because he's playing his former team. Then you go back to Samsonov on Sunday. He'll play his former team in Washington. Maybe they'll do something different, but that's just what I expect right now. But the cruel thing is for a team like the Maple Leafs, you've beaten the Rangers, you've had a great stretch of games, you have a homestand, you feel great about yourself. And through all of it, you're 12 points back of the Boston Bruins, and they got 2 games in hand on you. That's how cruel this division is this season. That's how cruel it is to be playing alongside Boston because you are so great. You were so fantastic. You'll likely be the second best team in the NHL by the end of the year when it comes to point percentage. But you're so far behind of the team that you're chasing. You are in the Daytona 500, but you are 9 laps behind the winner. And you feel like you've ran a really good race, but little do you know, just the guy in front of you is incredible. The guy in front of you is Christian Bale from Ford vs. Ferrari. If you haven't seen that movie, see it. Speaking of movies, I get into the Oscars. I know I talked about this with Seamus on Tuesday. I like to see the movies that are nominated. I like to watch them and really dissect them. I mentioned The Banshees of Inisherin. If you haven't seen it, see it. It's on Amazon Prime. You can buy it for rent it for $4, something like that. Worth the $4, I'll tell you that. Everything All Together, All at Once, another extremely good film. You also can watch that on Amazon Prime for about $4. A really good buy. But it was a weird year for movies because The Fabelmans was nominated for, that's a movie with Margaret Robbie and Brad Pitt and Tobey Maguire. Wasn't a very good movie. Really long, kind of drawn out. I do think Margaret Robbie was very good in the movie. She's one of the best actresses in the world, quite frankly. She wasn't nominated in any kind of category for female leads, which is surprising. But I mean, you see Top Gun Maverick get nominated. You see some of these movies that have no business being nominated for anything, and they did. Movies still hold such an important piece of my life, but the world is shifting to a television series world. I mean, there's so many good television series right now going. I track everything that I watch. I write down every year the content that I consume, so I know and I can kind of tell people what I watch and what not to watch and what you should be watching. Coming up on the docket for me, I have not seen White Lotus season 2 yet. I'm going to watch it. Season 1 was phenomenal. Can't wait to watch season 2. That's coming up. I need to watch Succession. Haven't watched Succession yet. Haven't watched an episode of Succession. I've only heard good things. Got to get over to Craig. Been spending a lot of time on Amazon Prime. Excited to watch Succession. There's the final season of Barry is coming out this year. Can't wait to watch that. If you haven't seen Barry, watch it. Bill Hader, Henry Winkler, the Fonz. One of the best dark comedies I've ever seen. Really, really interesting, Barry. One of the best acted shows on TV as well. Anthony Carrigan's fantastic. I think I'm going to watch Your Honor season 2 with Bryan Cranston. Season 1 wasn't that great, to be fair, but I love Bryan Cranston. And he holds a special place in my heart, and I'll always watch his shows. Why? Because he gave us Breaking Bad. He'll always be Walter White. So there's so much good content. And I'm breaking off to talk about television series here because they're great. It's like sports. You find your people that you like, and you gravitate to them. It's an escape. It's everything. Artemi Panarin is like James Cameron to me. He produces a lot of stuff, but it's not very good. It's not a winning formula. Avatar, Titanic. Okay, that's like getting 18 points in 3 rounds. How impactful were those 18 points? Not really all that much. For me, my superstar, my Connor McDavid. I mean, to me, the best actor in the world, it's a difficult question. It's hard to say it's not Christian Bale. I don't know if Christian Bale's ever been in a bad film. He's one of the best actors in the world. Just watched him in A Pale Blue Eye. Very interesting movie about Edgar Allan Poe, the short story writer. Wrote many things like The Raven. But you can make metaphors to anything. And that's something I've always loved is different content like movies, like TV shows, and sports. And it's consuming a lot, and you're on your screen a hell of a lot, so your eyes aren't getting any better, your ears aren't probably getting any of that better as you crank the volume. But I always said I didn't know if I was born in the right decades. I would have liked the 80s. I find our world now is really It's hard to live in sometimes with the way people act and the stupidity and the government and the way people push their agendas in certain ways. But I will point this out that the television sports combination is superb. To think I got to see the entirety of Breaking Bad. I got to watch the entire length of Sidney Crosby's career. I saw I watched Seinfeld. I was born in 1998. That was when the series ended, but I got to see Seinfeld. I got to consume it. Then I got to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm and really see the season where they referenced Seinfeld and how they went to make the show, which is beyond interesting that they did that there. I got to see LeBron James have his entire career. I'm going to be able to see him pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who I did not get to see play, pass him for the most points all time, which I didn't think would happen ever. But I got to witness it. I think we're very fortunate where we get to, and I'm speaking for myself here, but just as fans and just consumers, where you can get ripped off a lot in life. You go to a store and you got to pay $15 for a thing of peanut butter. You go buy blueberries, it's like buying a kidney on Craigslist. It's that much money. But then you go on your streaming services and you're paying, $100 a month for different streaming services, whatever it is, as you add them all up. They're well worth it. They're well worth it because you get to see great actors, you get to see really good producers, directors create some really good content. Some great critical thinking, creativity out the wazoo. Nothing is out of bounds, just creative freedom to create some really awesome stuff. And the great thing about series and about sports is there's a debate. There's a conversation. You can talk about movies, you can talk about TV series with people for hours on end. I do. I think about friendships. Seamus, who comes on here every week. Our basis of our friendship, a lot of it is on sports and TV, movies. We both love them. And it's an easy thing to talk about. He sends me content he's watching. I send him content that I'm watching. And we share ideas. He loves the Batman. I hated it. He might be a Panarin fan. I hate him. So there you go. There's a debate there. Maybe his Austin Matthews is Don Draper from Mad Men. What is the Mad Men of sports? Which is another great show if you haven't seen it. Mad Men. Mad Men might be the San Francisco 49ers. No, because Brock. No, that's a bad analogy. I apologize, folks. Mad Men, I would say. Mad Men might be the Boston Bruins. Because you look at the Boston Bruins and you think, oh, I've seen this show before, Handsome John Hamm, and he's doing his thing. He's smoking cigarettes. It's old school. It's designed in the 60s. I've seen this show. But then you get deeper, and you start watching season after season after season. Everybody ages, and yet the show is still dynamite in season 7. The show is still incredibly captivating in the final. And as you go through it, the Boston Bruins are still great with Bergeron, with Marchand, as they head into the twilight of their careers. Yet they still continue to point it out. And that was the same in Mad Men, where Elizabeth Moss is a star. You have John Hamm. You have John Clattery, who was in Next and also a great character on Mad Men. That's where my brain goes sometimes. It's just connecting TV series, connecting movies with sports and how they can blend together. Because my two favorite hobbies, and they have to. Just has to. I'll get back to sports here in a second, but I just started Bosch Legacy. So far, so good. I'm an episode in. Watched the entire Bosch show in like 3 weeks. Loved every second of it. And now I'm starting Bosch Legacy. 10 episodes. Be done that by the end of the weekend, for sure. I just wanted to talk about the Oscars and the movies that were nominated because to me there were some good ones and some movies that, quite frankly, had no business being there. Just like there's some teams that go deep in the playoffs, and you're like, how the hell did they get here? Because they had no business being there. Maybe that's the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe Top Gun Maverick is the San Francisco 49ers or Brock Purdy at quarterback. Maybe I'll ask Matt Wright that when he joins us here soon enough. The New Jersey Devils are a team that have been interesting all year. They find ways to win. They edged out a win against the Vegas Golden Knights Tuesday evening. And prior to the season, I liked their roster a lot. But one of the biggest concerns I had was their goaltending, where they had Mackenzie Blackwood and they traded for Vitek Vanacek from the Washington Capitals. And what a turn of events this has been, because Vitek Vanacek has won 8 straight starts, and in those 8 straight starts, he has a .930 save percentage. The Washington Capitals gave up Vanacek, and they gave up Ilya Samsonov for hardly anything. They got a draft pick for Vanacek. Samsonov, they did not give a qualifying offer. And both goalies have been superb and, quite frankly, better than Darcy Kemper and Charlie Lindgren have been in Washington, although they haven't been bad themselves. But I just found this a surprising story, one you wouldn't think of, that Vanacek has been one of the most consistent goaltenders this entire season. He's given his team a chance to win every time he's in the net, and he's grabbed it and solidified himself as the number one goaltender for the Washington Capitals. Mackenzie Blackwood is the backup goaltender. Vanacek is the starter, and the New Jersey Devils are playing with a ton of confidence. Jack Hughes looks like a different player out there. He's not afraid to make a mistake. He's aggressive. He'll make creative plays with the puck. A contract that was given out that I question, I think the whole world questioned. Dougie Hamilton has been a rock star for the New Jersey Devils. He's played back-to-back games, and he's gotten the OT winner in both games. He is a number one defenseman. He chews up minutes. He still skates extremely well. And whether he's weird because he visits museums or not, he's been delivering the goods for the New Jersey Devils. To think they gave him out that contract, and I still thought this doesn't make any sense for him, but this team has turned it around. Andre Palat's returning from injury. Jesper Bratt is still on this team. Ryan Graves serves his purpose as he's come over from the Colorado Avalanche. Dawson Mercer. They need size, and I don't know if they'll be a great playoff team. But, I mean, if you look at it right now, they would play the New York Rangers in the first round. The way the Rangers play fundamentally, the way their systems are set up, the Devils could absolutely beat the Rangers if they played. I don't think the Devils can beat Carolina in a best-of-7 because I think Carolina would wear them down. And Carolina hasn't played the greatest of hockey lately either. And the Metro's a jumble where Pittsburgh wins the other night 7-6, and their goaltending, Jari's constantly hurt. DeSmith can't make a save to save his life, yet they win that game because Alex Lyon is in net for the Florida Panthers. So Pittsburgh is completely out there. They got a lot of firepower. Their defense is lacking depth or really a top 4 that you can trust, which a lot of teams are around the league. Washington's to be an 8th right now to me is a great sign for Washington because of the injuries they've had. They've had Backstrom and Wilson for the first half of the season. They're just starting to get them both into the lineup. Alex Ovechkin's great as always. They're also missing John Carlson, their number one defenseman. So the Metro's complete up in the air. And for New Jersey to just find that stability, to find a guy in net that they trust, to have Lindy Ruff behind the bench and serve as a great head coach, have Jack Hughes emerge as a star, maybe blossoming into a superstar this season, is job well done. The Devils feel like a team that is, they feel like the Leafs teams where they're going to make the playoffs this year, and that's a big success, and they'll see what they can do in the playoffs. But with their goaltending the way it's gone, and the way that they can score with other teams, and that they're clutch in the key moments, I don't like their chances of winning a playoff series, but I would not rule it out. Because you give them the right opponent, they can absolutely. If they can find a way to win this division and they get Washington in the first round, they can beat the Washington Capitals. They can beat the Washington Capitals because they're faster than Washington, and to me, they just got more firepower up front than Washington does. And if Karlsson's not healthy, Dougie Hamilton is by far, head and shoulders, the best defenseman in the series. And if you go through it, I think New Jersey's got a couple of the best defensemen in the series before you get to a Washington defender. In particular, if Eric Gustafsson's on the team. But I'm liking New Jersey's chances. In that game, they played the Vegas Golden Knights. And prior to the game Tuesday night, Butch Cassidy, a.k.a. Bruce Cassidy, called out Jack Eichel, saying he was not playing with the same kind of tenacity, he was not playing with the same kind of jump, and that he wasn't seeing the fervor, he wasn't seeing the energy that he had earlier in the year. And I watched that game because I wanted to see how Jack Eichel played. And he played awful again on Tuesday night. And good on Bruce Cassidy for being honest and just bringing that to the media's attention because it's the truth. Jack Eichel was nowhere to be seen in this game. He was on the outside, and I expected him to be better in the first game since hearing those comments, and just quite frankly, he was not. Jack Eichel is uber talented. He could be a top 10 player in this league, but he's not. Because for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think he's immature. I think Eichel gets inspired. He plays extremely hard for a while, but then he forgets about it. He might go and think about partying. He might think about women, whatever it might be. But his mind goes somewhere else other than hockey. And then he comes back and he thinks, well, my head's been gone for a while, but before my head left my body, so to speak, I was having all kinds of success, so I don't need to try that hard. Being a superstar, being a great player is 100% commitment. There's not many games where you're not noticeable. It's tough to be a superstar in the league now to go 6 games without a point. That's what Jack Eichel's streak is currently on. But you're a player like Eichel, who's not about getting to the trenches, who's not about being that fervor, having any kind of physical game. Your games where you're not getting points look worse and worse because you're not doing anything to help the team. You're not throwing a late check. You're not involved. You're not hustling back on defense because his back check is irrelevant. So you're not helping the team in the other end of the ice. You're not doing anything for your teammates in particular. It's just you, a one-man show, and you're gliding around and letting other people control the game. Vegas has been passed in the Pacific Division by the Seattle Kraken after the Kraken beat the Vancouver Canucks last night 6-1. The Kraken have games in hand, and now they have the upper hand on the Vegas Golden Knights. And quite frankly, the LA Kings are a better team than the Vegas Golden Knights lately. The LA Kings are starting to find their game. They played a lot of games earlier in the season. They had injuries. They had to send Calvin Peterson to Myers. Phoenix Copley has been a godsend for them in between the pipes. But Kevin Fiala starting to score goals. Anze Kopitar starting to find his game. Quentin Byfield, I watched them the other night as well. He's starting to find it a little bit. He looks more and more confident. He's a big body out there. He's got to use that. And I think playing alongside Anze Kopitar will only help. because Anze Kopitar is like Byfield, just an older version. Where Kopitar's big, he can move well, he uses his size effectively. I think Byfield, you want him to be defensively sound, and you're playing with one of the best defensive centers in recent memory, future Hall of Famer. But see, I talked from the beginning. I thought Seattle would be a good team. They are a good team. LA, I thought would be a good team. They are a good team. I think they're as good or better than Vegas. And now you have Vegas. Well, the best thing Vegas can say is we have better players than the other two teams, which are true. Jack Eichel's better than any player in either of those two teams. Point blank. Doughty, maybe. But I think Jack Eichel, you can put him up against any member of the Kraken, any member of the Los Angeles Kings, and say, I'm better than you. But it doesn't mean anything if you're not winning. Yes, on paper, you're the better player. Yes, on paper, Alex Pietrangelo is better than any defenseman on either of those two respective teams, too. So Shea Theodore. But when you're not winning, and it's not your goaltending's fault because you're losing games 2-1, 3-2, you're not scoring any goals. Riley Smith's dried up. William Karlsson's dried up. And guess what? You're not going to be able to improve your team that much because you have no cap space. You're stuck. So it's on him to dig them out. It's on him to be a spark plug and not to be the generator that runs out of gas. You need to find it. You need to get the propane, put it in the stove, light it up, get that fucking house going. Don't sit there in the dark. That's what Vegas is. Vegas is a city that's always alive. Jack Eichel's game it's like a roulette table. You're either hitting and people are celebrating or it's dead quiet because you just landed on black and you're on red. And you're gone bankrupt and you're sitting there wondering what your next mortgage payment is. Your wife lays at home going to bed. Dark image, I get, but that's Vegas, baby. So I see we got Ryder on the line. I'm going to ask him about this. First off, Ryder, good to see you. I'm going to say this to start. I know it's not today, but I won't be talking to you live. I know you got a birthday coming up, so happy early birthday to you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. The big 2-9. Getting old over here, man. It's 30s closing in here soon, but no, I appreciate it. Looking forward to actually. We were supposed to be in Montreal this weekend with our team, and unfortunately, that tournament got canceled just with the weather, and Quebec's getting hit real hard this weekend. So
Right.
we're staying home, but a little bit of a blessing in disguise at the same time because able to spend some time with my girlfriend, spend some time with some buddies, and also watch some football on Sunday. So little weekend off once in a while never hurt.
I want to start up. I mentioned to you I want to ask you some coaching questions because I find it fascinating talking to you about that. I watched Jack Eichel, Ryder, and he's such a skilled player, as you know, and I just see a guy with a low motor. He's like the roulette table. When you're hitting, everybody's excited, and when you're on red and it rolls black, everybody's quiet and it goes away. The excitement. And kind of Bruce Cassidy called him out the other day, saying he wasn't playing hard enough. When you have a player that's mostly a skill-based player, how do you go about motivating him to find his game again from a coaching perspective?
Well, that's a great question. I think on Jack Eichel, the one time I played against him, you can ask Sawyer about playing him down in BU. He kind of shelled us for, I think, 7 points. So he seemed to have it that night. But it's tough. It's challenging as a coach because, if you push too hard, you're going to lose the player totally. And some players are more motivated than others. That's just a fact. Some players have more energy. Some players are always on, no matter whether they're having a bad game, whether they're having a good game, whether they're having an average game. You know what you're going to get out of them for work ethic. Some players are very skilled and you know what buttons you can push and what buttons you can't. The frustrating thing for a coach is when you have one of those players who, you see the ceiling, but then you're getting the basement sometimes. And
Right.
you don't need the ceiling the whole time, but you also can't have the basement, if that makes you need somewhere in between. Like you can't
Right.
always be a 10. What we say to our players is you don't have to always be a 10, but you can't be a 3. You have to be a 7 or an 8 because we'll take the 7 or 8. We don't need the 10 every night, but we can't have the 2 or 3 effort. We need the 7 or 8. You're never going to always be a 10. That's unrealistic. You're never always going to have your best game, but you can't be a 3. You have to be somewhere at a 7 or an 8. You have to be at least, if you're not scoring, you have to be giving something else. You have to be blocking shots. You have to be committing to the little things. And I think that when a skilled player buys into the little things, everyone else in the room sees that. Okay, yeah, no, maybe he's not scoring every night, but you know what? He's blocking shots. He's getting pucks out. He's doing the things that the rest of us are doing as well.
Right.
The way to lose a room is when your top players aren't scoring, but also not doing the little things. So you need your top players, whether or not they're scoring, they have to be doing everything else. And the easiest thing in sports is to give an effort, right? Just give an effort. So I think Bruce Cassidy's trying to light a fire under him, and it's a great time to do it because there's still a large chunk of the season left, right? There's no point in trying to do this in another 15, 20 games while you get closer to the playoffs. Now's the time to do it. Maybe light a fire under his ass, and he can get on a little bit of a run because we know he can be a very, very top player in this league. He can be a top 10 guy, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes as a coach, you have to push those buttons. It's uncomfortable, and sometimes you're not, making the best of friends in the room. But right now, it's a situation with Eichel where maybe he needs to hear that at the same time.
We've seen kind of a shift from when we were kind of growing up with hockey where penalty killers were people that played third, fourth line, that blocked shots, and it wasn't a lot of skilled players. Now you see, a Chris Kreider, a Mitch Marner on the penalty kill. Do you think that's something that could spark Jack Eichel's game? I know it doesn't scream Jack Eichel, but it doesn't scream Mitch Marner either to play penalty kill, but it's something I think he does very well. Or is that something that you've incorporated in your coaching style with your best players?
Yeah, our top players kill penalties. We have a couple guys that don't play power play that have become more PK specialists that we get them out there every PK. But
Right.
then we follow it up with our top 2 guys right after that. And if you're a top player, what everyone loves is ice time.
Mhm.
One thing when I was going through, I loved playing penalty kill because it's more time on the ice.
Me
And
too. Yeah.
kids love being on the ice. I don't understand when people don't want to play PK because that's less ice time. So if you are a really good player, you should want to be out there on the PK because especially on the PK when you get the puck, sometimes there are opportunities
Yep.
to create offense that with the 5-on-5 that isn't there because on a power play you normally see guys dripping down too low. You see a little bit more movement. There's opportunities to create breakaways, 2-on-1s that sometimes you don't get on 5-on-5. So yeah, our top 2 forwards, they I wouldn't say they PK every PK, but they are definitely in our PK mix for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you see Sebastian Aho in Carolina, and he's awesome at it. He's out there all the time, and he's getting ice time. I also wanted to ask you about Carolina. Freddie Anderson got injured again last night, and I feel for him somewhat, but I'm also a cynic about him because I always see him get injured. In your coaching, experience, have you seen a player just kind of have it in his brain that he's always injured and he can't get rid of it, or do you think that exists in sports?
100% exists. 100%. I mean, a lot of it too is bad luck.
Right.
A lot of it is luck. I've played with players. Luckily enough, I didn't get hurt too much, and it's funny because I'm a smaller guy. I should have been hurt more than I was, but I've played with guys who were hurt all the time, and it seemed like every little thing they were hurt. And some of it's bad luck, and others I think it's that placebo effect where it's in their head a little bit where they feel that they're going to go out and get hurt, so then they end up getting hurt, right?
Right.
Be afraid of I'm just getting back for injury. Maybe I have to be a little bit precautious out there. Maybe I have to, it definitely does get in people's heads. I played with a guy in U18 where great player, ended up playing in the queue for years and was a great player, but he just seemed to always be banged up. And I think some of it was bad luck. And honestly, I think some of it was in his head as well. And you see that Freddie Anderson, that's one where I think it might be a little bit of both. I mean, it's hard to say. I'm no doctor here, but it seems like he is getting hurt seems to be all the time, really. And it's unfortunate because he is a great goalie when he's healthy. And that's a piece for Carolina that they're definitely going to miss. Same with Pacioretty. He's really had a tough year. But it definitely can get in players' minds. And I think sometimes players play with the thought of not getting hurt instead of just going out and playing.
What did you make of your Rangers last night in the game against the Leafs?
I think you touched on it. Defensively, I don't think they were great. I think they were really poor. Their systems weren't great. I think the kid line together was their best line. I thought Kako had an awesome game. He was that whole line. When that kid line gets going, I know they're not really kids anymore. They still are. They've been in the league a few years, but if they can find that line together moving towards the end of the year, Lafreniere seems to be going a little bit more after that healthy scratch, seemed to light a fire under his ass. Hedl seems to be playing much better. That line was their best line. Like you said, sometimes their top players it'd be frustrating sometimes to be behind their bench with the way that they play. And it showed in the playoffs last year that they didn't play hard enough. Just strictly hard-nosed hockey, defensive zone coverage hockey. They like to run and gun. The Rangers are a running team. That's the way they like to play. Is it exciting to watch? Yes. Is it a little frustrating as a coach sometimes? Absolutely. I think they can reel it in. I think one thing you can play a little loosey-goosey sometimes when you do have a goalie that is going to make the save. Sometimes when you know that your guy's just a little bit better than the other guy down there, you can go chance for chance. I don't like going chance for chance as a coach. I find it's too loose. I don't like coaching that way. But the Rangers have had success that way. But last year they got away with it a little bit more because Shesterkin played out of his mind. And he's still playing good, but he's not playing, at a Hart Trophy level, right? So they need to tighten it up a little bit. Don't get me wrong. They have turned it around compared to where they were 2 months ago. Yeah. So let's not beat them down too much here. They're a playoff team. They are playing better hockey, and the Leafs are a great hockey team too. The Leafs are a very good hockey team, and they don't get enough credit sometimes. Maybe it's because of the media, maybe it's the market, but the Leafs are a really good hockey team this year. I mean, I saw a stat last night. Austin Matthews is leading the forwards in block shots this year. So guys are buying in. Nylander's having his best year. Marner's having his best year. Mark Giordano has. Even though Kako made him look silly last night, Mark Giordano's reinvented the wheel on the back end. Morgan Riley's he's coming, he's slumping a little bit, but the Rangers, yes, they play a little loose. Do they need to tighten it up a little bit coming into the playoff push? I believe so, but overall, to take a point in Toronto, we'll take a point. We'll take a point against a team that's ahead of you in the standings any day.
Do you like the playoff structure?
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I think that what they tried to do was to try to get those, Montreal-Toronto matchups or the Atlantic Division matchups. There's some matchups I like, but it's becoming too stale now. I think what you're seeing is, especially you look at the Atlantic Division, you got, Boston, Toronto, Tampa. You got 3 teams there that it seems like every year now are playing each other. And the Metropolitan is weaker. I think there's more depth in the Metropolitan, but overall, the cream of the Eastern Conference is in the Atlantic, and that's been happening for the last couple of years. Maybe that will be a switch. At one point it was the Metropolitan a few years ago, but it's just the matchups now I think are getting too stale, and I like 1 to 8. I feel like if you finish 1, you should play 8. Like, why finish 1 and have to play a team that was 4 points behind you in the standings? Like, that is unfair to a team that worked their ass off all year to finish 1 or 2. Like, Leafs are going to play Tampa this year, and I don't think the Leafs should be playing Tampa, and I don't think Tampa should be playing the Leafs. So I think that what they tried to do a few years ago was good, but I think it's coming stale, and more people are not liking it. So I think there's more eyes on it this year. It's becoming more of an issue. So I think it's something they have to look at again.
Does any team in the Metro fear you as a Ranger fan?
The Rangers don't play good against Pittsburgh, even though they won that series last year. Yeah. Pittsburgh should have won that series. Crosby gets hurt. They're on their 3rd string goalie. the Rangers don't play good against Pittsburgh. I would say Carolina is a good hockey team. The one thing about Carolina is the Rangers have more star power in the sense they do have guys that can put the puck in net. Carolina would be such a fun team to coach because everyone buys in, everyone's bought into Brind'Amour. But the one thing they are missing is they're missing an absolute superstar. I think Aho's an awesome player. I think he's a star, but I don't think he's a superstar. And I think they have a really good team, but they still need that one guy that you can throw on the ice and say, go get me one. They don't scare me that much, though, to be honest with you, for the Rangers. Washington, I don't know if they sneak in. The Islanders, the Rangers don't play good against the Islanders. Metro, no. That being said, I think any one of those teams can come out of the Metro. I don't think there's a heavy favorite in the Metro division.
Right.
What scares me is matching up with someone from the Atlantic. But at least if you match up with someone from the Atlantic, that probably means you at least won one or two rounds. So I think the Rangers have as good a shot as anyone in the Metro. I don't think there's a team that's head and shoulders above everyone else.
No, I agreed there. What did you make of your Patriots hiring Bill O'Brien as the new offensive coordinator?
Well, something had to be done. I mean, we saw their offense this year. It was stagnant. Stagnant's a nice way to say it. It was absolutely god-awful. I think I could have ran a better offense, and I have no idea how to run an football offense at all. But their offense was terrible, and they had some success under Brian. They had, whether a lot of it was the Brady factor, I'm not sure. But they did have success under him. He's familiar with Belichick. He's familiar with, the culture they have there.
Mac too.
Mac, I think he's a good coach. I do think he's a good coach. I think he kind of got shafted a bit in Houston. That's a mess of an organization, to say the least.
They just didn't make him GM. He could have still been the coach. Like, he was having a lot of success there.
Yeah, I think they tried to he was wearing too many hats when he was there. So I don't hate the hire at all. I actually kind of like it. I'm more curious to see what they do here at the draft and the offseason, because there are moves that have to be made. But one thing you do see, coaching makes a difference. I think I talked about the last time I was on here. Look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I don't want to beat up on Urban Meyer. He's probably out having a good time at a bar here tonight anyway. But coaching makes a difference. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people forget, that even though players make it to the highest level, they still need to be coached. They still need coaching. They still need to learn. They're still learning. Just because you get to the highest level doesn't mean that you stop learning. You need people that you trust, and you need people that you have good relationships with, and you need someone that you can be like, hey, I don't know this. Show me what to do. Like, that's okay to ask for help. But I think sometimes we think that, just because they're at the highest level doesn't mean that they don't need the coaching. No, they need the coaching even more, and they want the coaching. That's the thing. When you get to the highest level, players make it far because they listen to coaches and they want coaching.
Right.
You look at, why is a kid not making a Pee Wee AAA team compared to a Pee Wee AA team? Well, maybe it's because that they can't be coached, or they're not very coachable, right? Coachability, players make it to the highest level because a lot of them are very good at being coached, and they want coaching. So I like the hire, and we've seen it work. We see what the changes in Jacksonville. Hopefully this hire in the offensive coordinator for Bill O'Brien leads to more, coaching in the Patriots.
I agree. And I think they need to get at least 2 wide receivers in draft/free agency, because they can't run it back with the same guys they had last year.
Well, that's the other thing too, right? Yes, you need the coaching, but you also need the bodies, right? You can't, doesn't matter if you have the best coach in the world behind the bench. You look out and you just don't have the bodies. Like, we're not beating that team no matter what I do, right? We've been in that situation a couple times, this year with our team, where we've just been punching out of our weight class, where we've played a team where it's, let's try and keep it within 2, and that's okay. It's okay to admit that we're just not as good as those guys, right? And with the Patriots, they need wide receivers. It's shown that they cannot throw the ball downfield, and I have been very critical of Mac Jones this year, saying he doesn't throw the ball downfield. Now, if they can get a couple wide receivers, now let's see it. right?
Right.
Let's improve the offense. We got a new offensive coordinator. Let's maybe draft a wide receiver in the first round. I
Mhm.
mean, let's not take a safety that we could get in the third round. Let's maybe take wide receiver here.
Right. Right.
And then let's see what we can do. I mean, you've seen that wide receivers are really starting to pay off for teams. I know we were hard on Chase there a couple of years ago. Tip or cap to him.
Yeah.
But Justin Jefferson, a good number one wide receiver, does make a difference on a team. We're seeing that even more so the last couple of years in the NFL. So let's draft a wide receiver. Let's sign a wide receiver, and let's improve the offense so we can see what our quarterback can do.
Yeah, right with you there. Aaron Rodgers. ESPN can't stop talking about him. Every day it's Aaron Rodgers this, Aaron Rodgers that. Is this smoke and mirrors again? Is he not leaving Green Bay? Is he going to be back in Green Bay next July?
I think so. I just don't see I think he loves the circus, right? He loves being in the mix, right? He loves his name being out there.
Yeah.
I think it's all smoke and mirrors. I think that he loves that build up. He loves that, there's some guys that love the limelight. There's some that don't. Mike Trout, if Mike Trout loved the limelight, Mike Trout would not be playing for the Los Angeles Angels right now.
Right.
Mike Trout probably would have won a World Series championship with the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Astros. Or if Mike Trout wanted to be out, he would be out. Mike Trout just loves playing baseball. And sometimes people get mad at him saying, why don't you want to trade? That guy just loves playing baseball, right? Some guys just love playing the sport and not loving the limelight. Others love the fact that they're a star athlete. And he's one of them. And whether you love it or you hate it, he loves being in the center of attention. I don't think he's going anywhere. I can't see it. If you're Green Bay, I don't think you have much behind. Jordan Love hasn't showed me enough.
Right.
If you're the only thing that Green Bay could do is just blow it up, right? Blow it up and just full on rebuild for a couple years. But I don't think he's going anywhere. I can't see it. I mean, he hasn't gone. If he was going to go somewhere, he would have went last year.
Do you think he would entertain the Jets?
Well, I see that they just hired Nathaniel Hackett there as their, which, you know what? Good for him. Honestly, I think that.
Yeah, I'm happy he got a job too.
I'm happy he got a job. Now let's see if their offense improves. Right now you have to go out and be a good coach. You got another job. Go do your job. Right. I think some of the fault in Denver was his. I don't think much of it was though. He's got some fault to blame. I think that there's a lot to blame with Denver this year.
Right.
So for him, for the Jets, they do have some pieces in there, right? It seems to be getting better. I mean, the Jets do need a better quarterback. Let's not pretend that they don't, right? So for the Jets, it would make sense to bring in someone who's better than what they have now. Just from an organizational standpoint, and you look what you have on the field, you want a better quarterback. Mm-hmm. So if the Jets could get him, yes, it would make sense to get a better quarterback. But do I think that he ends up there? No, I think he stays exactly where he's at.
Yeah, I do too. Do you find it funny that nobody's been hired as a head coach yet in the 5 vacancies? It's been a while, Ryder. It's been like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it is surprising. Normally you see quicker turnarounds in the NFL where it's within days. I think
there's no obvious guys other than Sean Payton. That's one thing.
And Sean Payton isn't in a rush either. If he was in a rush, he'd have a job by now. I think that a lot of organizations are seeing that they've made mistakes with hires over the last few years. So I don't think anyone's in too big of rush to make a hire. I think that, like you said, there's not a lot of great candidates out there. And not saying there's not a lot. I take that back. That's not fair. There's a lot of guys who could be, and females too, who could be very good coaches in the NFL. Right. But I think that there's a little bit of hesitation because there's been a lot of turnover in the last couple of years of guys that are sitting around at home getting paid a lot of money to watch TV, right? So I think that there's no rush right now. And I think a lot of chips will fall once Peyton takes a job somewhere.
Do you think he will? Or do you think he's going back to Fox?
I don't know, man. He's getting paid a lot of money. Like
Yeah,
sometimes guys like there's coaches that are lifers that just want to keep on coaching, and there's other guys that have coached and that's done. That's their part of life is over, and it's okay to not want to get back into it because it's a grind. It's a much harder grind than it is to be an analyst. Like,
right. Yeah.
nothing against analysts. I think they work really hard. I know analysts spend a lot of time working, but I guarantee that Sean Payton would have to work a lot harder with a new NFL team than the job he's currently doing as an analyst. So some people just don't want to do that, and he's still getting paid a lot of money. He doesn't need the money, right? So I do see him going back to the NFL. I think one thing about coaching, and when you coach, like I love to coach. Like guys that coach love to coach. So it's hard not to want to keep coaching. So do I think he goes back? Yes, but I don't think he's in any hurry. He's waiting for the right opportunity for him, his family. And what's the rush? When you know you're the best candidate out there, you don't rush.
Right. I think he wanted that LA job, and he saw the collapse by the Chargers, and I think he thought they were going to fire Staley because I think he wants to work with Herbert. And plus, you get to stay in LA because I think clearly he's loving it, working for Fox, living in LA. I mean, it's hard, great weather, and everything else. And you look around, and that Denver job, Russell Wilson, no cap space. You're going to have to trade a draft pick to get him. So that hurts. Houston, maybe, I guess, but they don't get a quarterback to draft one, try to mold them. Carolina, same thing. So it might just be the circumstance of there's not a great location for me to have a ton of success year one in any of these 5 locations.
And coaches and players, anyone, at the end of the day, winning is always funner than losing.
Yes.
You leave that we played New Hampshire this past weekend with our prep school team. We had 2 really good games. We won 2 very close games. And then we absolutely had a stinker Saturday night, lost. And it was bad. It was a bad loss. It's probably our worst performance of the year. And we go out, we talk to the boys. We go out Sunday, yes, boys, we lost the game. Let's turn it around, go out, let's get a win on Sunday. Right. Saturday, whatever day it was. And we go out and get a 2-1 hard-fought win. Scored late and won in overtime. Winning feels better than losing. The drive home from New Hampshire home was a lot better because we went 3-1 instead of 2-2. And coaches, at the end of the day, I played on a junior team where we were 13-1. And then I got traded to a team that was 1-13. And when I was there, we lost 16 games in a row. Oof. And it was tough. It was hard. And losing sucks. And when you are used to winning, losing is even worse. Right. So why do you want to go to somewhere where you know you're going to lose when you're used to winning? If you're used to losing, then it's a little bit easier to swallow to go to a place that you know you're going to lose. Right. But when you have a record of being a winning coach and you're used to winning, it's hard to go to a spot where you know you're going to lose a little bit more than you're going to win. If you don't have to. Like, that's the thing. It's not like he needs the job. Like, yeah. If let's say I got fired tomorrow and I need to get a job and I got called by a junior A team and they were a struggling team and I needed a job to pay the bills, then it's like, okay, that's great. Let's see if we can turn this thing around. I love the opportunity to do so, but if you don't need the job, then you don't really need to go. Right. It's like anything in life, right? If you get fired, not just coaching, if you get, if you don't need the job, then why to go to somewhere where it's going to be probably harder and more mentally taxing than going to a different job, right? That's just life.
Yeah, if you sell your business, you don't got to go into another field if you don't want to, because you sold your business and you made enough money to live comfortably. You see a lot.
And you can look for a job that fits your lifestyle.
Right. Yeah, I think he takes a job too. I'm just not sure it's going to be this year. I find that interesting.
What's the rush? Why wait? Why wait? If it's not like if he waits a year, then people are going to forget about him. Like, he's still going to be a desirable candidate in 2 or 3 years.
Agreed. And if you stay on TV, you stay relevant.
Exactly.
You stay in the mix.
Look at Rick Tocchet, right? Like,
Right. Right.
he just got a job from, honestly, like I think if he's not with TNT, he probably doesn't get that job.
I don't think so either because they wouldn't think of him. You see him on
No.
TV and he does a lot of interviews too prior to getting this job. So that, yeah, agreed. Tom Brady playing next year?
Well, why not? Honest, like if after everything that happened with him last year,
Hmm.
like he's he's single. Like take the personal side, like he's not dealing. I'm sure there's less drama at the house.
Hmm.
Like the guy, we've seen what we've seen from Tom Brady is the guy just loves playing football. We talk about lifers. I think he just is a lifer of football. That's what he's grown up in. That's what he loved. That's his thing. He loves playing football. So I think he's going to play football until he can't play football anymore.
Hmm. Do you think
And
it's in Tampa?
even if it hurts his legacy, let's say he goes out and people are saying, oh, maybe it's going to hurt his legacy. But if the guy just want to play football and he doesn't care about his legacy, because that's the other thing. Some people care about, their legacy and others don't. Others just love playing, right?
Plus, you can't take the 7 Super Bowls away.
No, take, last night I went out and played men's league at 10 o'clock at night. And I was a much better hockey player at 21, 22 than I am at 28. Like, I get on the ice maybe, to actually play hockey. I'm on the ice all the time, but actually play hockey, I play hockey probably once every 3 weeks.
Right.
And if I got on there and thought I was going to be a better player than I was at 21, it's just not happening anymore.
Right.
But I still love playing the game. And that's why you see people, old timers leagues are still going. And men's league guys play, men's leagues till they're 75 years old or nooners because they just love playing the game. And do I wish someone watched? I talked to my girlfriend about this the other day. I said, I wish I wish you would have seen me when I was actually a little bit better of a hockey player because I'm not that anymore. Like that part of my life is over. And you're never going to know that. And that's okay. But if I wanted it to be, when you're at your prime of your whatever it is, whether it's junior, East Coast, AHL, NHL, or any sport, some people want to be only remembered for their best, and other people just love playing the sport because that's what they grew up doing, and they love playing the sport. And people, if it seems like Brady just loves playing football, and he's going to keep on playing football, and he's getting paid a hell of a lot of money to do it, so why not?
Yeah. What would you do if you were the Giants with Danny Dimes?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because I think that they have the right coach in place.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the culture has completely changed. I think the fan base is, for the first time in a while, I think is kind of behind the team.
Yeah, they can believe in them. Yeah.
They believe in the team. They believe in what they're doing there. What we see though, I think we've seen it this year is if you don't have one of the top 4 or 5 or 6 quarterbacks, you're not winning. Like
unless you're San Francisco.
Unless you're San Francisco. Don't get me wrong. There are anomalies, right? But I think it's shown this year you need a top guy.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to the Dallas thing too. Like, do you think Dak Prescott is going to get you a Super Bowl? Like, he might get you the playoffs every year, but he might get out in the first round every year too, right? So I don't know what they do there. I don't know. I think that they keep him because we've seen there's not a lot else out there that's better.
Right.
So I think they keep him. I don't love him as a quarterback. I think that he's just too unpredictable, as you don't know what you're going to get from him. And sometimes the best thing about coaching is knowing what you're going to get.
Right. Yeah, pocket passers, you knew what you're going to get. They just, Ben Roethlisberger, you knew what you're going to get. Phillip Rivers, for better or for worse, you knew what you're going to get. He'd give you a chance to win every year. What do you think of the thought of neutral site AFC/NFC championship games moving forward?
Well, I hate it, but it's going to happen.
I hate it too.
It's only a matter of time, unfortunately, that it's going to happen. It's a business, right? And as much as we want to say it isn't a business, it's a business, right? So there's a lot more money to be made to have both AFC and NFC championship games in the same spot. Do one on Saturday, one on Sunday, turn it into a mini Super Bowl. You can make a lot of money that way. And they're going to sell out regardless. It's not like if you do it, half the people aren't going to go. It's going to sell out. So it sucks because I think it is going to happen. It sucks if you're a team that had an awesome year and really deserve to host that game.
Right.
I think it's inevitable.
Do you think they have to go back to 2 buys if they do this? Because it makes the number 1 seed, you don't get that much of an advantage.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. I think that you still need to find a way to make it relevant for winning in the regular season.
Yes.
And I think that's the issue we talked about earlier with the NHL, where that's not the case right now, where you're not getting rewarded for winning. And it's a grind. It's a grind to be a winning team. It takes a lot to win. It's easy to lose. It's very easy to lose. It's not easy to win. Winning is hard. And winning over a span of time is even harder. It's a lot easier to go out and win 1 game than it is to go out and win 13 or 14 games in the NFL. So I think that they need to find a way to make it still be rewarding and still have the advantage. Because if you win, you should have an advantage going into a playoff round or a game or whatever it may be. You should not be equal for being, a team going 8 wins to a team going 14 wins. It should be harder for the team with 8 wins to beat the team with 14 wins.
Right.
Because you weren't as good as them in the regular season. Like to me, I think sports is losing that a little bit.
Plus, if you're Minnesota and you make the championship game and you're going to play Philly, you get an advantage if the game's in Atlanta because it's a dome and you play in a dome. There's no conditions. You actually get an edge for being a worse team than say you played the Eagles, who were first in the conference.
No, yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, I think that it is shifting the way of the neutral site games. Hopefully not for a while, but I think within the next 5 to 10 years,
that's gonna. I agree. Games this weekend. We got San Francisco, Philly, Cincinnati at KC. San Francisco is a 2.5-point underdog against Philadelphia. I think this is going to be a great game. What do you make of the spread?
I think the spread is pretty accurate. I still don't have I haven't, in fairness, I haven't done a lot of, that pre-research into putting a bet in. I haven't looked at it at all. I'm sure I'll be looking at it here over the next couple days, but it's going to be a great game. I think you got the 2 best teams in the NFC playing in the NFC Championship, and that's what you want.
Yes.
I think that San Francisco, their playmaking ability is really, really good. I think it's probably some of the best we've seen in the last, I'd say, probably since I've been watching football, is that you can just plug a guy in who, Mr. Irrelevant, and they're still getting the job done. Tip of the cap to him that he's doing what he's doing. He's playing really well. But that being said, they have a lot of good pieces around.
Absolutely.
It makes it a lot easier to be a goaltender when you have 2, let's say 5 of the top players in the league playing in front of you. The shots you're probably not going to see as many breakaways and 2-on-1s, right? You're probably getting a lot of shots from the outside. So I think that their playmaking and the coaching and the players they have in position makes it a lot easier for them. I think Philly's defense is really, really good. I think we saw that last week. They're an elite defense. I think that Philly is probably going to win the game just because I think that they have had a better team throughout the year. I think that I think they're going to win just because I think Jalen Hurts is better than Brock Purdy. I think, that's at the start of the year. If you would have told me, do you want Jalen Hurts or do you want Brock Purdy? I'm taking Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
I think the Eagles find a way to win this game.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way too. I think it's going to be low scoring because I think both defenses are really, really good. So this might be, and both offensive lines are great in their own right. I mean, Jason Kelsey, got Trent Williams. But I agree with you. Brock Purdy has had some throws in the past couple of games where there should have been interceptions, but they dropped them for whatever reason. Trayvon Diggs had an easy interception. He dropped it in the past game. He's due for a stinker, and we might see that this week in Philly. He's on the road for the first time in the playoffs in a really loud environment. So I'm leaning with you with the Eagles. How about in the second game, Cincinnati visiting Kansas City? Kansas City is a home dog as of right now with the line. Mahomes is at practice for what that's worth with a high ankle sprain. What do you make of this game?
Two awesome football games this weekend.
Yeah,
Hopefully on paper, two awesome games.
yeah.
I love the Cincinnati Bengals. I just love, and I just, after what happened last year, and this is, you shouldn't look at off the field antics, but the whole Patrick Mahomes brother and girlfriend thing just
Yeah,
really gave me a sour taste in Kansas City. I
right.
just, and that's not fair for me to say because it's nothing to do with the team, but it's I just can't find a way to I just love what the Cincinnati Bengals have done this year and the fact that they started slow
Mhm.
and they found their groove and they don't have the sexiest team, you know. They
Mhm.
just but they play with swagger, they play the game the right way. They are, they're never going to get as much credit as they should because they're in a small market.
Right.
And I guess you could say Kansas City is a small market too, but I just think the Cincinnati Bengals have their number. And sometimes you play teams that have your number. Like, for instance, I'll bring it back to our prep school team.
Mhm.
We have a team that I know we are better than. We are a much better team than them. We should, on paper, beat them by 3 or 4 goals, and we have a losing record against them. And we can't figure out why. They have our number. We outshoot them, we outplay them, and they beat us. And
Right.
it's frustrating. But on the other hand, we play a team that is, and no disrespect to our players, because we got a lot of good hockey players on our team. We play a team that they should beat us by 3 or 4 goals.
Mhm.
And we have beaten them more than they beat us. And it shouldn't be the case. But we
Right.
just have their number. And even their coach said, he goes, I don't know, you guys just have our number. And sometimes in sports, weird things happen. You look at the Leafs can't win in Arizona. Why can the Toronto Maple Leafs
Right.
not win in Arizona? Like,
Right.
what the hell,
Right.
right? But Cincinnati just seems to have their number. So I think Cincinnati is going to win this football game just for the sole fact that they are in their head. And when someone's in your head, Cincinnati is living rent-free in their head. And it's
Right.
hard to get someone out of your head when they're living rent-free in your head.
And Joe Burrow is so confident. It's just hard to bet against him. Like
Oh man,
he's
man.
so much swagger.
You keep your girlfriend, your wife, your significant other, your mother, whatever it is, you keep them away from that guy because he is one sly dog.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I agree with you. Plus, the injury to Mahomes, I don't know how mobile he's going to be because that's a high ankle sprain to 3 to 4 week injury at the very least. It can sometimes be longer.
Yeah, and one thing about Patrick Mahomes is he is best when he is unpredictable.
Yes.
And right now, he is going to be a little bit more predictable than normal.
Mhm.
So, this guy can't run, I don't think we've ever seen Mahomes just stand in the pocket and throw the
Right.
whole game. And we're probably going to have to see that. And I don't think their run game is very good. I think that their run game is okay. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. And they're going to have to use the run game a little bit more than I think they were hoping to use. And I don't think it's going to be good enough.
Cincinnati gets to back-to-back Super Bowls. Are we talking Joe Burrow as the best quarterback in football?
I don't see how you can't. Because is he, like we talked about earlier, winning matters.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, winning matters. And whether or not there are awesome players that never win, that are great players that are better than players that win.
Right.
But winning matters. And for him to get to 2 back-to-back Super Bowls, if they are to win this game, you have to say he's one of the best quarterbacks, because analytics is one thing, but winning is very important too. I know I'm saying that word a lot today. Winning, winning, winning. I'll say it even more, but it's so true that you need to win football games, and he finds a way to win football games.
And there's something different about winning in Cincinnati too. Like it's a little small Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's great. Like I love that they have that where they win and they bring the game ball to a local bar. Like that is a great story. That every time they win, they bring a game ball to a local pub. Like that is small. That's buying into knowing where you are as a team, where you're located, and who your fan base is, and supporting your fan base. And when it's funny, when your fan base supports you, you go out and play better. Like
right.
When you hear a lot of noise around a team, look at Vancouver right now, right? Like look at what they just went through the last week. When it's noisy for the wrong reasons with the fan base, it does weigh on players. Like they're people, right? But when you know your fan base is cheering for you and loves you, like you want to go out and succeed for them. It gives you that little bit extra motivation.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with you about the NFL this weekend. I think it's going to be awesome. The 2 games. The only sad thing is that it's coming to an end so quickly. But we do got the XFL.
March Madness is coming right up.
Madness. We got the XFL as well. XFL is coming back, right? Or the Rock start the league.
Yeah, let's see what happens there. Let's see what it looks like.
Have you been tracking the Australian Open?
A bit, not as much as I should be. I know there's a mixed doubles tonight I might watch. The Australian's tough just with the time change.
Yeah,
it's a tough event to get into just because of the time change. I am going to get into it a bit this weekend. But for me, tennis, I struggle to get into tennis until I get into the summer.
Right.
I really do.
Wimbledon's the thing for you?
Yeah, for me, like the hard court season and tennis in July, August, that's kind of where there's just too much going on right now. Like,
right.
It's not that I don't want to watch it. It's just, if I have to choose between tennis and football, I'm sorry, I'm watching football.
Yeah. Football, golf's great right now too. The stretch with Torrey Pines and Riv, and obviously
the live stuff, and I love it. Let's get those guys mixing it up. I want to see 2 guys square up. I would love to see it.
Right. Yes. Patrick Reed versus Rory.
You think anything happens at the Masters, or is that like a kind of everyone talks to them beforehand and says if you do anything stupid, you're banned?
Probably, but Patrick Reed is so dumb, he might just go past that stop sign. But he might look at Rory and be like, hey, you should try to get a green jacket or something like that, and that could spark something.
Oh, he's just so oblivious. Like, yeah. I use this, I was coaching my first year with Champions. I was coaching a U9 Winter League team, U9. And I rolled the benches the whole weekend because it's U9.
Right.
U9 hockey. I rolled the benches the whole weekend. And I had a parent call me on Christmas Eve after the tournament to tell me that their kid didn't get enough ice time. 8 years old. And I rolled the benches the whole weekend.
Right.
And you got to be oblivious to call someone on Christmas Eve and, wait till Boxing Day. Like,
right.
In fairness to him, there was no college football on, so there's nothing to watch. So maybe, but nonetheless, like you got to be some oblivious to that. And Patrick Reed just seems like the most oblivious guy in the world.
Yeah, no, he's a piece of work. Him flicking that tee at Rory the other day, like that's so disrespectful. But
like, if someone doesn't like you,
just don't go near them.
Just don't go near them. Like you can be in the same spot as someone and just not have to talk to them. Like that's okay. Like
it's very easy actually. You just don't go near them.
You don't go near them. Like you don't listen. I like a lot of people. There's not too many people I don't like. But if there's someone I don't like and someone that doesn't like me, it's okay just not to talk to them. Like that's
absolutely yes.
Not like you going over there is just to put on a show. That's all that is.
Yeah, you're being a hot dog and you're just starting shit for no reason. I know you're off this weekend. You just mentioned the tournament in Montreal. What's on What's on deck next couple weeks for Champions?
Yeah, so it picks up again. Where right now it's I'm pretty busy with getting spring hockey out. As you know,
Right.
your sister's coaching our U9 Red Hornets. So looking forward
Mhm.
to having Tally work with those girls. But really busy getting spring hockey up and going. With our prep school team next weekend, we're actually at home in a tournament, high school tournament, which we're really
Nice.
looking forward to. And then we're off to Montreal again. And then actually after that, it's Canada Games where we have 6 players away at Canada Games. Really excited and happy for those players to participate and represent their provinces. So probably scoot over there and watch some games on the island. And then after that, we got a couple playoff tournaments to finish off in March, and then the season kind of comes to an end. So it's pretty crazy how fast it goes by. Like just
It's not.
looking back there yesterday, I was looking at where I've been in the last 3 months, and I've been all over eastern side of North America, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the boys just showed up a month ago. But it's been busy, but it's been exciting at the same time, and looking forward to spending some much needed time with some buddies this weekend and my girlfriend and watching some football and kind of getting rejuvenated and ready to go for our tournament next weekend.
Do you play next Friday?
Next Friday night, 5 o'clock, LBR. So
Okay, I might be there.
yeah, we're playing against Leo Hayes. So
Okay.
should be
Okay.
a really good game. And yeah, no. So let me know, Jug. Let me know.
I'd like to see your team play, so I might be in attendance for that game.
Yeah, I mean, buddy, I'd love to have you there. The more the merrier. I think it should be a good atmosphere with 2 local teams and in a small barn like the LBR. There should be a pretty good atmosphere there. So we're really looking forward to it, buddy. And enjoy your weekend. And
You
thanks for
too.
the birthday shout out. And we'll be talking here. I'm sure we'll be sending some messages this weekend back and forth.
Absolutely. Take care and happy birthday again, my friend.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
There's Matt Wright, everybody. Great to chat with him. The great coach at Champions does great work with them and just a really, really hardworking guy. So good for him to have an off weekend and best of luck to his team next Friday in Fredericton. And I might be in attendance going up to watch my sister that weekend. So if they don't play Friday, it might be a good time to pop in and see the Champions team play and watch my friend coach. Sounds like a good little Friday night for yours truly. Tomorrow, what's on tap? Recap some NHL games tonight. Want to get into some NBA tomorrow. We'll get into more of the NFL as well, previewing the games this weekend. So we'll get into that tomorrow, certainly, because it is Friday already. Talk about the leaderboard at the Farmers Insurance Open down at Torrey Pines. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So lots happening on the show tomorrow afternoon. Until then, have a great night, everybody. Take care. Enjoy the rain. Just to the point.